Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new episode of the South Central Louisiana State Mud Dogs Dynasty, where we are jumping into the Season 2 off-season with how the Mud Dogs done this year. Gonna start it off by looking at how our quarterbacks did. Stan Castillo led the way for us from a pass perspective. Nearly 200 passes completed, 25 touchdown passes, 2,800 yards. Those 17 interceptions though are a little concerning though. Need to definitely cut down on those as we move into a sophomore campaign. If we can get it down to the lower teens and increase his touchdown passes, that would be really beneficial for our football team moving forward. And then G. Gunnell, of course, in limited playing time, he did a pretty solid job. 12 for 16, 236 yards, and a couple of touchdown passes to go with as well, with the one interception, but he usually came in during garbage time. Our running game was also headed by the two-headed monster in Casey Bugg and Stan Castillo, each of whom had 1,000 yards rushing and combined for 32 touchdowns on the ground this season. So definitely really successful running game that we had this season. Stan Castillo, of course, had over 1,000 yards rushing, and then Casey Bugg had 1,557 rushing yards on the season. And then we had solid contributions from the senior and Carl Wright in his final season with the Mud Dogs, 54 carries for 391 yards. G. Gunnell had a couple of carries himself with a few touchdown runs himself. Tim Smith even got a carry, and then our true freshman and Alan Holland only had 4 carries on the season, but hey, most of them actually turned into touchdowns, which is extremely cool to see. Now, we didn't pass the ball very much, which you saw with our quarterbacks this season. And, our leading catcher was Tim Smith, and he only caught 40 balls this season. So maybe what we'll need to do going forward, as Casey Bugg is going into his senior season and has the potential of going to the NFL, I feel, is maybe throw the ball a little bit more. But, Tim Smith had a really nice season. And then Ryan Wilson, not so much. He had 14 drop passes. I don't remember a single game where he didn't drop a single pass, but he did have those 6 touchdown receptions nonetheless. Also had contributions from a bunch of other people. We did a really good job, I felt, spreading the ball around, which was extremely nice as what we usually do with our passing attack. But then our defense, is one man and one man only. Bobby Boucher, 117 tackles on the season, 18 TFLs, 4 sacks on the year, and he also forced 4 forced fumbles as well, which is really cool to see. And with those kind of stats, he was able to get linebacker of the year, and also I believe was recognized as the defensive player of the year within the country. And we also did a real good job of getting to the quarterback. We had 2 guys that had double-digit sack seasons in Ben Miller and Jason Washington. Each were in their first year eligibility with the Mud Dogs. But pressure came from almost everywhere, as we have multiple guys just running down the list that have multiple sacks, including backups. Even in limited playing time, they got a sack or 2 in as well. We didn't do as great of a job, though, of intercepting the quarterback. Not too many turnovers. Looks like we only forced 11 interceptions in the entire season, where we threw more than 11 interceptions just from Stan Castillo alone. However, Bruce Terrell and Tyree Pickens each had 3 interceptions to their name, with multiple forced fumbles, the vast majority of which came from the one and only Bobby Boucher as well, with 2 recoveries each coming from the man, the myth, the legend in Boucher, and Nicholas Beverly as well. Finally, going through the recruiting or the kicking game, we had some solid contributions from our kickers and punters, but looking at our kick returners this year, we had 2 kick returns that would return for a touchdown. 1 each came from Mike Bullock, the experienced corner, as well as Casey Bugg, who was electric running back, of course, that you saw in previous for our rushing game in general. Now we did finish the season off 11-2 with a huge bowl victory against Louisiana Tech, but we're going to go into the official part of the offseason. I'll see you guys when we get there. Alright, so it looks like that we actually do get a coaching extension that lasts for 7 seasons, so of course we are going to accept that job security, and we should be the coach of the South Central Louisiana State Mud Dogs for the next 7 seasons. Going through the coaching carousel, just seeing any notable moves that happen with our coaching staff. I'll come back to you guys if I see any Mud Dog coaches come and coach at different schools. So we come up on Louisiana Tech, and looks like our offensive coordinator is one of the top candidates for this job, and he will be hired by Louisiana Tech to be the head coach of their football program. He runs a multiple play style and multiple kinds of defenses, and he's going to be there for hopefully the next 5 years. So congratulations to our offensive coordinator for being a part of the Louisiana Tech legacy and becoming their head coach. As for who will be replacing Maurice Mason, it's going to be John Booth, who was the head coach of Western Michigan. He's going to bring his pro-style offense over. He was 11-11 and was fired in his previous head coaching position, but we welcome his experience on our coaching staff nonetheless. Alright, so we made it to the toughest part of the offseason, seeing some of the seniors walk away from the game of football one final time. But before I officially get into that, we do have some upgrades to take care of. So for my head coaching upgrades, I put it into recruiting so we can go forth and try to get better talent moving forward. And then of course John Booth is brand new to the staff and was fired, so I had to put in some points into him as well. Of course, had to focus on the running game since that's what we did such a fantastic job of, and I want to continue to do that. Control the clock and do it in an exciting way as well with how we ran our option attack this past season. But that's all I have in terms of the coaching upgrades, though. Is now that time to go in to see who is leaving the program for good. And the good news is we don't have anybody transferring in this season, but we also didn't have anybody make it to the NFL, unfortunately. So going into some of the notable guys that are leaving us, Lyle Rumbledux was a starting linebacker for us over the past couple of seasons. He had a little bit of a dip because we moved him from middle linebacker to the outside linebacker position since we wanted to give Bobby Boucher more playing time. And then G. Gunnell, senior redshirt, who, you know, he was benched for Stan Castillo because he did win the job in camp fair and square, but he still did a pretty nice job in relief of Stan Castillo whenever we started to have so much of a lead that I wanted to put the backups in and get experience for them. And I mean, he had a positive touchdown to interception ratio this year, which is always cool. TJ Covington was a starting senior for this Mud Dog football team on the defensive end. Dude really likes to come in and, you know, just play tough ball. You know, he's always a guy that is there to make the tackle from the safe position, you know, willing to do whatever it takes to win the football game. Matt Long provided us experience at left guard, really was a really nice mentor for the football team at that offensive lineman position. And then Eric Babcock, he was a backup kicker, so I mean, not too much to report there. Greg Lemon is an outside linebacker who unfortunately didn't get too much playing time this year because I'm pretty sure he was supplanted by a freshman whose name I can't recall off the top of my head, which gotta show how the freshman did, but gotta give those young guys experience. But then John Espinoza, who was such a blanket for Stan Castillo this season. He had 24 catches for 290 yards, 1 touchdown, although he did give up a sack. And then finally, the last person that I want to highlight here is Carl Wright, the senior halfback that backed up Casey Buggs over the past couple of seasons. He had 54 carries for more yards than he did last year, despite having less carries, and then also finished with 8 rushing touchdowns, so it was a nice career for him. And then of course he had that 1 receiving touchdown during the course of the New Orleans Bowl game as well. Now, we didn't have any surprise players go to the NFL draft this season, so another year without pro prospects. But then we also didn't have anybody transfer in for us as well, which is kind of sad to see, since we did have a couple of really high impact transfers, including Shad Gifford, who is now eligible to play for us at the safety position. Probably will replace TJ Covington when it's all said and done. But now the most exciting part of the offseason, getting into that last push of recruiting. I'll see you guys when we're out there and all the recruits have been signed. Alright, so here are the 4 players I really want to go after this offseason. Skip Sapp is a 5-star athlete that I really want to get my hands on. And then there's also a few other players I want to get on the team this year, including Rob McKinney, Arnold Cobb, and of course the custom recruit that doubles as the person that I'm actually dating. So definitely need to get Tammy Groff on my team, because if I don't get her, she's gonna be really upset that our custom recruit is not gonna be playing with me. So definitely want to get her above everybody else, but want to make sure that I have some guys that I want to get on this football team. Although it's unfortunate that there's some highly ranked freshman players that I'm gonna have to essentially let them go to different schools, because just don't have enough points to spread around, which is really unfortunate to see. But we still have a nice number of 4- and 5-star recruits that we're going after. Hopefully, if it all turns out pretty well, we'll be able to get all 4 of these guys that we are trying to sign when it is all said and done. So I'll see you guys when the recruiting results have been updated, and we'll see where everybody signs to. Alright, so we actually get 3 out of the 4 top recruits that we were going after. Skip Sapp, Thomas Murphy, and custom recruit Tammy Groff will be joining the team this fall. Although Rob McKinney doesn't sign with us, we do get our backup plan in Rob Smith, who will be joining the team as well, and will be a solid contributor towards our football team as well going forward. Anthony Chance, a left guard, probably a 2-star JUCO, I don't remember off the top of my head. He's going to sign with us as well. Probably won't play very much, probably will redshirt, but will give us a little bit of nice depth anyways. And then we end up signing the top class in the Sun Belt Conference. Granted, that's not going to last very long, because I will show you why later on in this video. But either way, we did a really good job of signing a really solid recruiting class to complement the last recruiting class that we brought in during season 1. Unfortunately, Arnold Cobb, the 5-star athlete out of Urbandale, Iowa, is not going to sign anywhere. So it's really unfortunate, because we are leading by a good amount on everybody, but he simply did not decide that college football was not for him, I guess, which is extremely surprising. But it is what it is. We do get our top guys. Rob McKinney, we were extremely close to getting him as well. We only missed out on him by 500 points, but New Mexico is going to end up getting him. Mario Curtis is also going to end up going to ULM. We were in a recruiting battle with him, but we missed out on him. Skip Sapp, however, we surpassed Georgia by a good amount, so we have a 5-star athlete in him coming to join our football team, joining a bunch of other guys that are going to be pretty talented in their own right. We also finished 48th in the country with our recruiting class, thanks to that push from multiple 4-star, 5-star guys coming to join our team this fall. It's not as high of a recruiting class ranking as we did last season, but don't be mistaken, these guys can all play in their own right, and I'm extremely excited to go ahead and see what this team can do going forward now that we have multiple years of good recruiting class under our belt. Maybe not only can compete for a conference championship, but we can shoot to be in a New Year's Six Bowl as well. That's the expectation that I'm going to have going into season 3. Mark it down, ladies and gentlemen. But since we do have a couple of athletes to take care of, it is time to get into position changes. Looking at what Skip Sapp can be, it looks like he's definitely an offensive weapon that we can utilize. Probably either a quarterback or a halfback, depending on what we want to do with that. So we're going to go ahead and check out what's happening with our quarterback situation. And you know, we have a established starter in Stan Castillo. He's definitely going to be the quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years. And then of course at running back we have Tammy Groff, who is going to set to be the backup running back for Casey Bug to start out her freshman season at South Central Louisiana State University. So what we're probably going to end up doing, probably just so that we have a replacement for Stan Castillo down the line, is that we're going to go ahead and put him at quarterback. And then as for Anthony Flores, kind of looking around to see what he can do, and not a lot going, although we saw that he's really good at safety in the low 70s, which is nice to see that he's even more of an improvement at safety. And you see that we have a space open as Chance Johnson is set to be our starting free safety at 66 overall currently. Can't have that on the opposite side of Shad Gifford, who is an 85 overall. So what we're definitely gonna do, as well as Chance Johnson has played in his limited playing time, we're gonna go ahead and put him at free safety, have Anthony Flores compete for that starting free safety position against Chance Johnson, depending on how training goes in the next portion of this offseason. Another position change that we're going to take care of is that we're going to move Joe Jackson to the right guard position so that we can have some more experience on that part of the offensive line instead of a true freshman in Mike Roberts. And then since we have, looks like one more backup, looks like I'm going to go ahead and move, well, hang on. What I want to do here, because we have a true freshman at left guard, which I don't know how I really feel about that, but yeah, I'm gonna move Logan Cobbs to left guard. He's gonna take a little bit of overall drop, but he should get a gain in overall, and we'll have a little bit more experience on that part of the offensive line, since you know that's always extremely important to have good old experience. In terms of our defensive side of the ball, I think I'm going to move Thomas Murphy to the right outside linebacker position, since I think Dan Fine can surpass Ryan Smith during our training results, so he should be the starting left outside linebacker. Just trying to improve the team overall, but I think that's all I want to do in terms of how I want to position this football team for the future. Team is looking pretty solid. Be interesting to see how workouts go for this football team going into season 3. So I'll come back to you guys whenever we get that all set and squared. So we're looking at training results, and it looks like we have another 90 overall. Joining Bobby Boucher is our senior kicker Derek Wallace, who has just an absolute leg that, you know, we really love to use on kickoffs. And then we have another near 90 overall in Shad Gifford. He's going to be at 89 to start season 3. Aside from that, still have a little bit of a drop off. We still have a lot of young players on this football team overall, but you know, nobody got even close to Tammy, so she's going to be the backup running back to start the season off. Receivers made a decent little jump, you know, got Ryan Wilson's catching up to a 77, so hopefully he'll be down to under double digit drop passes. Left tackle is looking really good. He's going to be an 84. Rest of our offensive line is slowly but surely starting to come together. Both of our tackles are going to be in the 80s, which is nice to see. Just need to continue to shore up the guards positions as well as center. I think one more year we should be able to do just that. Jason Washington and Ben Miller are both guys that made decent jumps as well. They will both be 76 overalls to start the season. And then just as I expected, Dan Fine is a 74 overall, and he should get the opportunity to start. In the meantime, looking at the rest of the linebacker core, it's looking pretty okay. Tyree Pickens moves up to an 81 overall and is accompanied by Joe Thompson, who will be a 77. Didn't have as much of a jump as I expected, but he's still going to be a solid player nonetheless. Shad Gifford, I already said, was an 89, with Derek Walls being a 91. Dwayne Floyd's a 77, and that's going to be your Mud Dogs football team going into at least season 3. So now we're getting ready to move into the final part of this offseason before we decide which conference that we want to jump into, and that is cutting players. So we'll see what we have here on the list, and we have 5 players too many. So what I usually do is cut the worst overall players. So Jeff Roach, I'm sorry man, you're gonna have to get going. John Wayne, we have a ton of wide receivers, so you're gonna get the boot as well. Same with Michael Hale. Both those guys didn't get much playing time whatsoever. Dwayne Lopez came in a little bit last year. He was alright, but we just need more quality players on this football team. And then I think the last person that I'm going to get rid of is William Wilson, and this is going to be the final 70 going into next season. Finally, the biggest news coming out of this particular offseason is that we are getting ready to make a move from the Sun Belt Conference, and we are going to go ahead and make our way to Conference USA. Now, I'm looking at which team I would rather say that I'm going to replace, and I think that I'm going to replace Tulane University. So after some minor technical difficulties, eventually do get around to moving not only South Central Louisiana State into this conference, but we're also going to take Tulane, and they are going to go back into the Sun Belt Conference. So here we are in season 3, getting ready for a brand new season of Mud Dogs football. And before I get into the end of this episode, I wanted to show you guys what kind of schedule we are going to be working with going into this season. So one change that I know that I'm going to make right away is usually I don't like having a week 1 bye. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this a bye week, and then move the FCS West game that is at home at the Mud Bog. That is going to be at home. Then we're going to have a week 2 bye instead of a week 1 bye, which is not typical, but give us a little bit of extra time. Then we'll have a home game against Buffalo to start off the actual non-conference. Then we're on the road against Georgia State, going up against a former conference opponent. So we'll go on the road and play Georgia State after that. Then we'll go on the road again to play against the University of Akron. So we have 8 conference games, but it shouldn't be too bad. We'll be at FIU. Then we'll be at home against the Tulsa Hurricanes, at North Texas, home against UTEP, and then at UTSA. A lot of new opponents for us this season. And then week 12 is probably going to be our biggest game of the season. Former offensive coordinator Maurice Mason will be coaching the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. So this will probably be our biggest game of the year, and it will be a coming home party for Mr. Maurice Mason himself, which once again we wish him the best of luck. And then we'll close the season on the road against Rice, and then be at home against UAB for Senior Day. Alright, so that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Make sure you leave a like, as well as hit that subscribe button if you're brand new. Also, if you want to have your very own recruit in the game, make sure you hit up that template in the description. Hit it up down in the comments below. Until then, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope that you take care.